Imagine discovering that a simple botanical, one relied upon by ancient healers for literally thousands of years, could hold the key to addressing major modern health crises like neurodegeneration and cancer today. You'd probably assume that sounds like a bit of a stretch, right? Well, when scientists analyzed this exact plant, they found an absolute biological powerhouse hiding in plain sight. So let's dive into this explainer and explore how a 3,000-year-old traditional root is currently being used by researchers to synthesize cutting-edge medical treatments. Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating science behind Withania somnifera. Now, you probably know it by its common name, ashwagandha, or maybe even Indian ginseng. But how on earth does a 3,000-year-old traditional root transform into a modern biological powerhouse? That's exactly the question researchers worldwide are trying to answer right now. And what they're finding with Withania somnifera is, honestly, absolutely incredible. We're looking at a plant that has seamlessly transitioned from ancient folklore straight to the absolute forefront of modern pharmacology and nanomedicine. To really grasp how this happened, we're going to take a macro to micro journey through the evidence. We'll start with its ancient roots and modern science. Then we'll look at botany and biotechnological advances, followed by the power of withanolides. After that, we'll explore shielding the brain, and finally, combating cancer and disease. Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, Ancient Roots, Modern Science. We're going to explore the historical significance of the Indian ginseng. Long before it was standardized into the modern supplements you see on store shelves today, Withania somnifera was an absolute cornerstone of the Ayurvedic medicine system. Ancient texts, like the Charaka Samhita, actually describe it as balya, which means it increases strength, and pustita, which means nourishing. For thousands of years, healers relied on it as a rasayana, essentially a rejuvenator used to promote vitality and resilience. It's basically the ancient blueprint for what we now call adaptogens, helping the body manage its everyday stress. Botanically speaking, Withania somnifera is a perennial herb that belongs to the Solanaceae, or nightshade family. If you wanted to find it in the wild, you'd mainly have to look in the drier regions of India and other subtropical areas. But, because of its incredible historical track record, it is a highly sought-after botanical. And that massive global popularity has made it the subject of intense scientific scrutiny, which, as we'll see, brings both incredible discoveries and some pretty significant cultivation challenges. Moving right along to Section 2, Botany and Biotechnological Advances. Let's look at cultivating the future of Withania somnifera. So, despite its natural hardiness in dry environments, commercial cultivation of this plant actually faces some really serious aggressive threats. Fungal pathogens are a huge problem here. You have Alternaria dianthicola causing leaf blight, Choanophora cucurbitarum causing a rapidly spreading wet rot, and Pseudocercospora phylogena causing black leaf spot. These pathogens can literally decimate crop yields, which is obviously a massive problem for a plant that is in such high global demand. To combat these threats and improve yields, scientists are radically rethinking how we grow it. They're actually moving away from basic soil planting and utilizing some really advanced biotechnological methods. We're talking about aquaponics, which creates a closed-loop sustainable system, and even in vitro cell suspension and hairy root cultures grown in bioreactors. These biotech approaches are a real game changer because they not only bypass those soil-borne pathogens entirely, but they can actually be manipulated to significantly increase the plant's production of active medicinal compounds. Which perfectly leads us into Section 3, the power of withanolides. Let's unpack the chemical composition. We really have to ask the big question here. What exactly makes this plant so powerful? Well, when scientists analyzed the extracts of the roots and leaves, they didn't just find standard plant nutrients or generic vitamins. No, they isolated a very specific, highly active class of chemical compounds that are doing all the heavy lifting. These compounds are called withanolides. By definition, they are a group of naturally occurring C28 steroidal lactone triterpenoids built on an ergostane framework. I know, it sounds incredibly complex. But think of this framework like a highly specialized master key, one that's designed to unlock very specific cellular responses in your body. These withanolides, most notably withafrin A, withanolide D, and withanone, are the primary bioactive engines driving the plant's diverse pharmacological effects, from anti-inflammatory all the way to anti-tumor actions. But actually capturing that power is a very delicate science. It turns out the geographical location and the extraction solvent dictate the actual chemical potency of the resulting medicine.
For example, extracting the fruit from uttercon using a methanol and water mix yields the absolute highest free radical scavenging activity, which is absolutely crucial for fighting cellular aging. But if you take plants from Rajasthan and use ethyl acetate instead, you get the highest flavonoid content. It really proves that creating an effective modern drug from this ancient plant requires incredibly exact standardized science. Now let's shift gears to Section 4, shielding the brain. We're diving into neuroprotective properties and cognitive health.
So oxidative stress is a massive driver of neurodegenerative diseases. In Parkinson's disease models, specifically rats induced with the neurotoxin 6-OHDA, the extract acts aggressively to protect the brain. We actually see a clear three-step process unfold. First, the extract is administered. Second, it actively reverses lipid peroxidation, which is essentially halting cellular rust. And it boosts naturally occurring antioxidants, like glutathione. And third, this directly results in the protection of the brain against neuronal injury. It's like it essentially disarms a biological bomb right before it can damage the cells.
And the target areas for neurological intervention are just staggering. For Alzheimer's models, the extract regulates a calcium exchanger called NCX3, helping to normalize brain function. In epilepsy models, the compounds block NMDA receptors, essentially capping the brain's electrical switches to prevent excitotoxicity or overstimulation. And for cerebral stroke, scientists have actually developed a specialized liposomal delivery system of the extract to actively limit ischemia damage. The biological potential for protecting the human brain here is vast and highly targeted.
And finally, Section 5, combating cancer and disease. We'll explore cytotoxicity and molecular imaging.
I want you to think about this number for a second, 43.6%. In one truly remarkable in vitro study, researchers tested a specific dichloromethane fraction of the extract against HepG2 liver cancer cells, and 43.6% of those cancer cells underwent apoptosis. That means the extract effectively triggered programmed cell death in nearly half of the targeted liver cancer cells, and it did it within just 24 hours. That's huge. And it completely holds up against standard treatments in lab settings, too. When tested against oral squamous cell carcinoma, specific fractions of the root extract exhibited cytotoxicity, meaning it successfully killed the cancer cells, at levels that actually rivaled the effects of standard chemotherapy drugs like 5-fluorouracil and melphalan. It's demonstrating incredibly powerful anti-tumor potential, but without the same profile of synthetic toxicity. Because of this incredible potential, pharmacologists are now engineering the plant into advanced clinical applications. They're synthesizing the extract into gadolinium nanocomposites that act as radiosensitizers. This is a real game changer because it could actually reduce the amount of radiation a patient needs to shrink a tumor. They are also binding it with fluorescent chitosan to create highly biocompatible contrast agents for early cancer imaging. And computationally, researchers have even modeled how specific phytochemicals in the plant can perfectly dock with and block the replication channels of the SARS-CoV-2 virus envelope protein. Just mind-blowing stuff.
It really is a bridge between two worlds. As we close this explainer, seeing everything from ancient Ayurvedic texts to modern nanoparticles, it leaves us with this incredible question. How will we balance 3,000 years of traditional knowledge with the accelerating frontiers of modern integrative medicine? Withania somnifera proves that the wisdom of the past might just be the exact blueprint we need for the biomedical breakthroughs of our future.